All right, everyone, welcome back. Now, before in our last lecture, we discussed about all our database migrations and structure. So, before we dive into creating this database structure, you have noticed that in our last video, we also talked about the language as well. So, like in what language the course is going to be delivered. So, let's quickly create a language first. So I will quickly go through the process, the CURD operations, and then we will move towards the courses section. So first of all, I am going to create PHP artisan make model of language, and I want to create migration and controller. Okay, so you can see that language model is created, migration is created, and controller is also created. And I also want to create a class. So PHP artisan make class, and that would be inside services language service. All right. So we now have everything ready. So let's quickly create a resource controller, resource endpoint, language controller, and let's import that file. All right. So actually, we missed something. We didn't create the resource controller. So quickly, let's go to HTTP controllers and language controller. Let's delete this controller and PHP artisan make controller resource. Okay, now it is created. So let's open that again. And firstly, I will going to use the construct function and here language service. So let's also declare the protected object service and also use $this service to target our language service. Additionally, we also need to remove this show controller method because we do not need that. Let's also quickly import one more thing, PHP artisan make a request, and that is language form request. And let's quickly use language form request. Let's open that as well. Remove everything, make it true. So for the language, we are basically going to just have a title. So I will use user, that would be just a title. And the title would be required string and a maximum. And this should also be unique as well. And I also want to put or ignore the ID. So ID is equals to $this language. So if language exists, so we want to use the language ID else null, and the default will be $ID. So what this purpose is that if we when we are going to be in the edit mode of languages, so let's say the user don't want to change the title, but submit the title without any basically changing the title. So what will happen is that Laravel, if you do not apply this scenario, Laravel will say, okay, this title has already been taken. So we want to ignore that thing. Okay, so we can do that by referencing this. Obviously, there is another method, but I think this is preferable. All right, so additionally, let's also use the language model as well, and definitely we also need to replace it here. And finally, let's also use that here. Okay, so we now have to target the language model, and here the first thing I am going to use soft deletes, and then protected guarded is equals to empty. All right, and what else we need? We also need the language service to open. I guess these spellings are wrong, so let me just um, reformat this one. So how can I do that? Rename this file. So yes, okay. Now we have controller, form request, service, and model. We also have defined this one. So let's also use the endpoints. So that would be languages like so. And uh, the next thing is I am definitely going to open the category controller, and from here I am going to copy everything. So everything, but what I mean is basically the existing functionalities. So we will be using the languages and also languages here as well. So let me just quickly duplicate this one. Let me create the forms and I will get back into the video. Alright, so I have created the language, all the functionalities. So let me quickly show you. So this is the controller, and we are just basically storing the language. So I have created just only the title and URL title. So inside the language form request, so I am just pointing out to this required, and which I have done already before. Here I am just fetching all the information. Just one thing to mention is that user ID should also be there. So it should be auth. Let me just. Okay, so this should be user ID and then update, and then also this generates the title. So we have migration and we have finally controller, and then all fields, view files. So now let's try to create and basically language. So I will first say English, and let's see if that works. Okay, so language added successfully, and let's also use French, German, and let's say Urdu, Hindi, etc. Okay, so if I now go to all languages, so here we can see we now have all the languages, and if I click on edit, so it takes me to English, and here I can say English US, and that should be updated. I hope so. Okay, let me also see if on the update, yep, so it is language. Column not found. Okay, so this is because of this option. So this should be title. And now if I refresh the page, now you can see unknown column description. Okay, that's strange. Yeah, we do not have any description option. So let me do that again. So English US, hit submit, and now you can see this is updated. So now let's move back to English. Finally, what we need is basically we need to test if this deleted. So the English is deleted, but if we take a look at our LMS database, so from here in our languages, the English should not be deleted from here, and that's correct. So now if I just put it to null and I reload the page, and now you can see English is back. Okay, so this basically we now have everything set up. Before we move further to the creating of these migrations, so the next few lectures will be creating the database, or maybe I try to wrap up or creating the database structure in just one video. That could be a long video as well, definitely. After that, we will start working on our courses section that are like the really important and main feature. So before basically covering the courses, we were basically just covering the helping materials. So these are all helping materials in order to create a course. All right. So that's about it for this one, and I will see you in the next one.